let's look at our square root functions, their graphs, and some of the attributes of their graphs. So remember, our square root is our square root of x. This is what we're talking about. Let's go ahead and graph it over here. Remember, when you're graphing, you want to create an x and y chart and put in some points to plot. Remember, let's see, we pick an x. So let's do this. Pick an x. Well, I like to do -1s and 0s and 1s, remember? And then we put it in, and we get our y. So if I put in square root of -1, remember that negative underneath that square root, that's an imaginary number. Do we have any imaginary numbers on our graph? No, we don't. So on our square root functions, on this parent function, if it's just the square root of x, we're not going to have any negative x's. Okay? So let's move on. Let's choose 0. If I plug in 0, the square root of 0 is 0. Let's do 1. The square root of 1 is 1. If I do 2, let me show you let's see if we can focus this in. The square root of 2, that gives me some decimal numbers. So let's pick some perfect squares. I know that the square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 9 is 3. So we got 1, 1, 4, 2, and 9, 3. Okay, that is what our parent function, the square root of x, looks like. So what is our domain? Remember, we're looking at x's from left to right. Well, our x's start here at 0, and that is on the graph, so I'm going to use a bracket, and it goes arrow all the way to infinity. Let's look at the range. We're looking at y's from bottom to top. We're looking for the bottommost value. That's at 0 again, and it's on the graph. And then we go up, it's an arrow, so it's going to include all of our y's. What is our x-intercept? Where that crosses the x-axis, that's right here at 0, 0. And where does it cross the y-axis? Again, 0, 0. So this is our parent function. Let me go ahead and do this a little darker. The square root of x. So this tells you how to put it into the calculator. Remember, we're going to, home, graph. Let's delete all that out of there. And menu 3, 1, and we type in square root of x. And that shows you the function. And if we want to see where it crosses the axis, we can do menu 5, 1 and trace it. Okay, let's look at some examples. Y equals the square root of x plus 3 minus 2. So I can go ahead and put that into my calculator. Menu 3, 1, square root of x plus 3 minus 2. And that shows you where that graph is. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that. And then we're going to look at the attributes. So again, we're going to be looking at Domain, range, x and y intercepts. So our domain, our x's, so the leftmost x is -3. Again, the arrow points means it goes on forever. Range, the bottommost y is -2, and it goes on for infinity. Where is it crossing that x-axis? No, x-axis. We're talking about x-axis. That is at 1, 0. And where is it crossing the y-axis? That is at 0, -0.268. So this is on your graph, on your calculator, or on a graph online where you're going to want to do menu 5, 1, and trace it. And there is it tells you that's the y-intercept. And if you keep going over, the 0 means x-intercept. Okay, let's look at this one. So again, I'm gonna do the graph here, and then we're gonna look at the attributes. So again, you want to put this into a calculator to see the graph. Let's look at domain. So your x's, the leftmost x is -1. It goes on forever to infinity. Range, we're looking for the bottommost y value, which is 1, +1. It goes on to infinity. X-intercept, where is it crossing this x-axis? It's not. So there are no or none x-intercepts. Our y-intercept, where is it crossing that y-axis? At 0, 3. Again, the best idea is plugging this into a graph and then coming up with the, looking at that to find the attributes.